God grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, courage to change the things I can, and wisdom to know the difference. Living one day at a time, enjoying one moment at a time, accepting hardships as the pathway to peace, taking as he did this sinful world as it is, not as I would have it, trusting that he will make all things right if I surrender to his will, that I may be reasonably happy in this life and supremely happy with him forever in the next. Amen. Reinhold Niebuhr, 1892-1971. I'm going out. I'll be home late. That was my wife. 8:30 on a Thursday night. Jane Fowler, for now at least. She grabbed her purse off the kitchen counter, checked her phone, and headed for the door without so much as a backward glance. No kiss. No, I love you. Just the click of her heels on the hardwood and the sound of the front door closing behind her. I stood there holding a dish towel, watching the space where she'd been. When did this become normal? Jane is 34, auburn hair that catches the light just right, 5'3". Recently pushing toward 150, though I'd never say that out loud. She's still beautiful, don't get me wrong, but something's different now. Something I can't quite name. We used to talk, really talk. About everything and nothing. About Trey's day at school, about what we do when we retired. About that weird dream she had where her teeth fell out and she had to give a presentation at work. Stupid stuff. Important stuff. Now I get I'm going out and a closing door. 11 years of marriage, 7-year-old son asleep upstairs. And my wife treats me like a roommate she's barely tolerating. Things have shifted. I feel it in my bones. Let me back up and introduce myself properly. I'm Nick Fowler, 35 years old, balding, dad bod that's seen better days. My waist went from a 36 to a 40 over the past few years, and those after-work beers aren't helping. I'll never be mistaken for Chris Hemsworth. Maybe a sexy Patton Oswalt? No, that's too harsh. Let's go with a shorter Seth Rogen. Yeah, that works. I call myself a jag, just another guy, nothing special, nothing remarkable, just a man trying to do right by his family. I work at Bojangles Stadium here in Greenville, North Carolina. Assistant Facility Manager. Fancy title for a guy who makes sure the place stays clean and running. Someone's gotta do it, might as well be me and might as well get paid for it. The job's not glamorous, not sexy, but it pays decent, good benefits. I've got one other assistant manager under me, guy named Isaac, and between us we keep about 60 people on task. Stadiums don't clean themselves. Neither do the bathrooms after a Hornets game. Trust me on that one. We live in a nice house in Apple Creek. Older neighborhood, but solid. Good families. Kids for Trey to play with. I inherited the place from my mother after she passed. God rest her soul. No mortgage means we save money. Retirement fund, Trey's college fund, nice vacations once a year. The only downside is the commute. I leave at 5:30 in the morning. It takes about 30 minutes to get to work. Coming home, different animal entirely. Anywhere from 45 minutes to an hour and a half, depending on traffic. Charlotte's sprawl is bleeding into everything these days. Sure, we could move closer, but have you seen housing prices? Greenville's bad enough. Charlotte proper would eat us alive. This way we save money, build security, plan for the future. At least that used to be the plan. Jane and I met in traffic court 13 years ago now. Can you believe that? She was there for speeding. I was there for rolling through a stop sign. That cop must have made a fortune that day. Swear to God, there was never a patrol car at that intersection before or since. Just my luck. The waiting room was packed. Hard plastic chairs, fluorescent lights buzzing overhead, that particular smell of government buildings everywhere. You know the one, coffee, anxiety, and industrial cleaner. I noticed her right away. Auburn hair pulled back in a ponytail, nervous energy, kept bouncing her knee and checking her phone. First time? I asked. She looked up, startled. What? Traffic court, first time? She laughed. God, that laugh. That obvious? Little bit, I'm Nick. Jane, we got to talking, about the cop who got us. About the judge who looked like he'd rather be anywhere else. About the lady in front of us who tried to argue her way out of a parking ticket and only made things worse. By the time we walked out, I'd worked up the nerve to ask her to lunch. Nothing fancy, just the Waffle House down the street. She said yes. I found out later she'd been dating around at the time, nothing serious. I wasn't dating much myself, too focused on work, on helping my mom out after Dad passed, on making sure my sister Monica could stay in college. I wasn't the school type. If it wasn't for baseball, I probably would have dropped out. But Monica, she was smart. Had a future, someone in the family needed to make it. Jane and I started seeing each other regularly after that second date. Something just clicked. She made me feel like I could be more than just a jag. Like maybe I was worth something after all. Our fourth date changed everything. We were at this little Italian place in downtown Greenville. Red checkered tablecloths. Candles dripping wax onto empty Chianti bottles. Real romantic in that cheesy way I secretly love. I'd been thinking about it all week. Where this was going, what I wanted, who I was willing to be. "Jane," I said, setting down my fork, "I've really enjoyed our time together." She smiled, but I could see the question in her eyes. "I sense a but coming." "No, but just a question." I took a breath. "Are you still seeing other people?" She blushed, actually blushed, put her chin in her hand and looked off to the left. I'd learn later that was her thinking pose, like a female version of the thinker statue. "Why do you ask?" "Because I need to know where I stand. I'm at a point in my life where I want to find the right person, someone to build something with. And I'm the kind of guy who focuses on one person at a time. I don't compete." I held her gaze. "So if you're still playing the field, I need to know now." She was quiet for a long moment, then she reached across the table and took my hand. "There is one other guy," she admitted, "but honestly, I'm more interested in seeing where you and I end up." Yeah. Her smile lit up the whole damn restaurant. "You want to give this a real shot? See where it goes?" I squeezed her hand. "I'd like that." And just like that, we were exclusive, built on honesty, on direct communication, on knowing exactly where we stood. At least that's what I thought. Jane's interlude, she hadn't told him the whole truth. Not that night at the Italian restaurant. Not ever. There weren't two men she was dating when Nick came along. There were three. Greg, a guy she'd known before. Malcolm, a blind date set up by a coworker. And Nick. She wasn't a slut. She wanted to be clear about that, even to herself. She was just exploring options, seeing what was out there, trying to figure out what she wanted from life. But Nick was different. From the very first conversation in that fluorescent-lit waiting room, he made her feel like the only woman in the world. He never looked at other women when they were together. Never let his eyes wander. Never made her feel like she was competing for his attention. Greg was already on his way out. She'd been planning to end it anyway. And Malcolm. He was losing interest because she wouldn't sleep with him. Good riddance. When Nick asked about being exclusive, she didn't hesitate, not really. Maybe she fudged the numbers a little, said one guy instead of two, but what did it matter? She'd already made her choice. When Nick asked about being exclusive, I had no problems committing, she told herself, and she meant it, at the time. I sat alone in the living room that Thursday night, TV playing some show I wasn't watching. Trey was asleep upstairs. Jane was. Somewhere doing something with someone. When exactly did things change? I ran through our history in my head. The good years, the really good years, building a life together, building a family. Where did we go wrong? Or maybe the better question, where did I go wrong? I turned off the TV and sat in the darkness, listening to the silence of an empty house, waiting for a wife who might not come home until midnight, who might not even tell me where she'd been. The serenity prayer came to mind. Something my mother used to recite when times got hard. God grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change. But what if I couldn't accept it? What if acceptance felt too much like giving up? Courage to change the things I can. That was the real question, wasn't it? What could I still change? And did I have the guts to try, and wisdom to know the difference? That was the hardest part of all. The story of how we got here isn't complicated. It's the same story a million couples have lived. Two people meet, fall in love, build something together, watch it slowly crumble. But let me tell it anyway, because the details matter. The little things you don't notice until it's too late. A month after Jane and I became exclusive, I landed a job at the Spectrum Center Arena in Charlotte. Good position, steady work, room for growth. It felt like a sign that things were moving in the right direction. Jane was working at a small law firm back then. Administrative stuff, mostly. Nothing fancy, but she was good at it. Organized, detail-oriented. The kind of employee who made everyone else look bad just by showing up on time. Over the next year, we started meeting each other's families. My side was simple. Just Mom and my sister Monica. Dad had passed a couple years back and we were still finding our footing. Mom was having health problems, nothing specific, just the slow decline that happens when you lose your partner of 30 years, like she was fading a little more each day. Monica was in college, smart girl, driven. I'd put off my own education to help pay for hers. No regrets. One of us needed to make something of ourselves, and it wasn't going to be me. I made peace with that a long time ago. Jane's family was bigger, more complicated. Her parents, Eileen and Peyton, were good people, salt-of-the-earth types. Her older sister Grace lived in Cramerton, about 40 minutes away. Her younger brother Dylan was still figuring out what he wanted to do with his life. Aren't we all? Everyone seemed to accept us. Her parents liked that I had a steady job and treated their daughter right. My mom liked that Jane was kind and patient, especially with her. Monica liked that I was finally happy. For a while there, everything just worked. 2 years after we started dating, I proposed. Nothing fancy, no flash mob, no skywriting. Just me and Jane on a blanket at Freedom Park, watching the sunset over the Charlotte skyline. I'd bought a ring I couldn't really afford and practiced my speech about 100 times. "Jane," I said, my voice shaking like a leaf. "I know I'm not much. I'm just a regular guy with a regular job, but I love you. I love how you laugh at my stupid jokes. I love how you scrunch your nose when you're concentrating. I love how you make me feel like I could be something more." I pulled out the ring. "Would you do me the honor of becoming my wife?" She said yes. Obviously, we wouldn't be here otherwise. The wedding was small, family and close friends. We couldn't afford anything extravagant, and honestly, we didn't want it. What mattered was starting our life together. After the honeymoon, we moved in with my mother. Not because we couldn't afford our own place, but because she needed us. Dad's death had hit her hard. She was struggling with things she used to handle easily. Bills, groceries, just getting through the day. "You know what they say," I joked when Jane agreed to the arrangement. "The Chinese symbol for trouble is 2 women under 1 roof." She punched my arm. "Your mother's a saint, we'll be fine." And you know what? We were. Mom did most of the cooking and kept the house clean. She was retired and needed something to fill her days. Jane and I paid the bills so she didn't have to worry about money. It worked out better than anyone expected. Jane and Mom got along beautifully. They'd sit together after dinner talking about everything and nothing. Recipes, gossip from the neighborhood, what was happening on their favorite TV shows. Sometimes I'd come home and find them laughing so hard they had tears running down their faces. Those were good years. Really good years. 3 years into our marriage, Jane got pregnant. I won't lie. I was terrified. What did I know about being a father? My own dad was a good man, but distant, worked long hours, came home tired. Showed love through actions, not words. I didn't know if I could do better. But when they put that tiny, screaming, red-faced baby in my arms, something shifted inside me, something I can't explain. We named him Nick Fowler I. My dad was Nick Sr. I was Junior, though everyone called me Little Nicky growing up. God, I hated that nickname, so we called the baby Trey, like the card, third of his name. Mom was over the moon. She'd been waiting for a grandchild since before Jane and I even got married. Having Trey in the house gave her a new purpose, a reason to keep fighting. She lasted long enough to see him take his first steps. To hear him say Gamma for the first time, to watch him blow out the candle on his first birthday cake. She passed 2 weeks later. In her will, she left the house to me. The deed was in my name and my name only. Important detail. Remember that. It's going to matter later. The insurance money went to Monica, enough for her to take a job in Texas and buy a little bungalow out there. She was happy starting her life, living her dreams. For a while, life was good all around. The shift happened slowly. So slowly, I almost didn't notice. It started when Trey began 3rd grade. He'd grown into a quiet kid, introspective, loved drawing and reading. We practically had to force him outside to play with other kids, not because he was unpopular. He just preferred his own company. His own world. I could relate. I was the same way as a kid, still am if I'm honest. Around that time, Jane decided to go back to school, get her paralegal certificate. Nothing wrong with that. I supported her completely. Helped with Trey in the evenings so she could study. Took over more of the household stuff when she was stressed about exams. She graduated with honors. Got a job at Rogers, Pratt & Associates. Big firm in downtown Greenville. Real lawyers, real money, real pressure. Our social life changed after that. Before Trey, we'd go out with friends every weekend. Clubs, bars, dinner parties. After he was born, it shifted to playdates and trips to the park. Most of our friends were childless or single. They drifted away one by one. Different priorities. Different lives. Jane started making new friends at work. Young associates, single paralegals, people who didn't have bedtimes to worry about or babysitters to arrange. The Friday happy hours started innocently enough, once a month at first, then every other week, then every week. "I'm going out with the girls," she'd say. "Don't wait up." I didn't think much of it. Everyone needs time with friends, space to decompress. She worked hard. She deserved to blow off steam. Then the "don't wait up" started meaning midnight. Then later. Then "I'm going out, I'll be home late" on random Thursday nights with no explanation of where or with whom. Something had changed. Something I couldn't quite name. Jane's interlude, she told herself it was harmless. The happy hours, the late nights, the drinks with coworkers that stretched into the small hours. "I'm not doing anything that wouldn't pass the marriage test," she reasoned. She didn't dance with other men, didn't accept drinks from strangers, didn't flirt or give out her number or do anything that would cross a line. It was just an escape. A few hours where she wasn't somebody's wife. Somebody's mother, where she could remember what it felt like to be Jane, just Jane. The pattern escalated so gradually she didn't even notice. Once a month became twice a month became weekly. Coming home at 8:30 became coming home at 11, then midnight. Nick never said anything, he just absorbed it, the way he absorbed everything, quietly, patiently. Like a sponge that never wrung itself out. Sometimes that patience infuriated her. Why didn't he fight? Why didn't he demand to know where she was? Why didn't he care? But he did care, she knew that. She could see it in his eyes when she came home late, that quiet hurt he tried so hard to hide. I didn't realize it was becoming a problem for Nick, she told herself. But deep down, she knew. She just didn't want to admit it. That Thursday night Jane came home after midnight. I was still awake, couldn't sleep. Had tried watching TV, then reading, then just lying in the dark staring at the ceiling. I heard her car pull into the driveway, heard the front door open and close, heard her footsteps on the stairs. She didn't shower when she got home. That was the first thing I noticed. She always showered after a night out, said she didn't like smelling like a bar when she went to bed. But she didn't smell like aftershave either, just a faint hint of cigarette smoke. Bar smell. I don't know why I thought of that. Maybe subconsciously I was looking for evidence, proof that my fears were justified, or proof that they weren't. She slid into bed next to me, hogging the covers like she always did. Within minutes, her breathing evened out, asleep, just like that. I lay there in the darkness, wide awake. Seeds of suspicion planted, not yet growing, but there. Waiting. In life, there are things you can change and things you can't. I can't change the economy, can't change the weather. Can't change the fact that I'm a balding, overweight guy pushing 40 with a dead-end job and a wife who seems to be slipping away. But I can change myself. I can change how I show up, how I fight for what matters. I was hoping to change the trajectory of our marriage, before it was too late. The idea came to me on Friday morning. I was working the late shift, which meant I didn't have to be at the stadium until 1. Time enough to plan, time enough to act. I stopped at Henderson's Florist on my way to lunch. Nice place, family-owned, they do good work. "What's the occasion?" the lady behind the counter asked. Gray hair, warm smile, name tag said Dorothy. "No occasion," I said, "just because." Just because is the best occasion there is. I picked out a nice arrangement, roses mostly with some other stuff mixed in. Purple and white, Jane's favorite colors, cost more than I wanted to spend, but some things are worth the money. Then came the hard part. The card. I'm not a poet, never have been. I can fix a broken toilet or rewire a faulty outlet, but putting feelings into words. That's not my strong suit, so I borrowed some. Elizabeth Barrett Browning, Sonnet 43. I'd learned it in high school English class and somehow never forgot it. Seemed appropriate now. "How do I love thee? Let me count the ways. I love thee to the depth and breadth and height my soul can reach when feeling out of sight for the ends of being an ideal grace. I love thee to the level of every day's most quiet need by sun and candlelight. I love thee freely as men strive for right. I love thee purely as they turn from praise. I love thee with the passion put to use in my old griefs and with my childhood's faith. I love thee with a love I seem to lose with my lost saints. I love thee with the breath, smiles, tears of all my life, and if God choose, I shall but love thee better after death. Your loving husband, Nick Cheesy? Maybe, but sometimes cheesy is exactly what's needed. I drove to Jane's office and left the flowers with Jackie at the reception desk. Known her for years, nice lady, great smile. "Oh, Nick, these are beautiful." She cradled the arrangement like it was a newborn. "Jane is going to die when she sees these. All the ladies are going to be so jealous." That's the plan. On my way back to the car, I called that new Thai restaurant in Rock Hill, made reservations for Saturday night. Then I called Jane's sister Grace and asked if she could babysit. Everything okay with you too? Grace asked. Something in her voice, concern, suspicion. Everything's great, just want to take my wife out for a nice dinner, that a crime? She laughed. Not at all, I'll pick Trey up around 5. Phase 1 complete, my phone rang 30 minutes later, Jane's name on the screen. Oh, baby. Her voice was thick, had she been crying. The flowers are so beautiful, and the card. Nick, I can't stop crying. Something loosened in my chest, a tension I didn't even know I was holding. You like them? I love them. Everyone keeps coming by my desk to look. What's the special occasion? It's Friday, I said. And I love you, that's the occasion. I never want you to think I take you or your love for granted. Silence on the line, then a sniffle. You are so sweet, Nick. I feel so special. You are special, Jane, the most special woman in my life. I paused. I made reservations for dinner tomorrow night, that new Thai place in Rock Hill everyone's been talking about. Grace is going to watch Trey. Really? Genuine excitement in her voice. When was the last time I'd heard that? I've been wanting to try that place. I know. We talked a little longer, stupid stuff, loving stuff. The kind of conversation we used to have all the time and somehow forgot how. When I hung up, I was smiling. First real smile in weeks. Maybe this would work. Maybe I could turn things around. Wednesday night, I came home to one of my favorite dinners. Smothered pork chops with rice and asparagus. The house smelled incredible. What's all this? I asked, setting down my bag. Jane was at the stove, apron tied around her waist, hair pulled back in a messy bun. She looked like the woman I married, the woman I fell in love with. Just wanted to make something nice, she said. Sit down, it's almost ready. Dinner was delicious, best meal I'd had in months. Afterward, I helped Trey with his homework, then sent him upstairs to get ready for bed. Jane and I settled on the couch, TV on but muted, actually talking for the first time in forever. This is nice, I said. We should do this more often. Yeah, she leaned into me, her head on my shoulder. We should. I decided to test the waters, carefully. You going out Friday with the girls? She shifted slightly, thinking. I recognized the pose, chin in hand, eyes drifting left. I haven't really thought about it, she said. No one's mentioned anything. Why? Just noticed you've been going out a lot lately, wanted to make sure we're okay. She was quiet for a moment. I guess I have been going out more than usual. I'm sorry, work's been stressful, big case coming up. We go out to blow off steam. What case? Oh, I'm helping one of the new lawyers, Jerry Mahoney. He came from a firm in Raleigh about 6 months ago. Real taskmaster. The case is complicated, might mean some late nights, maybe even some weekend work. I noticed something, the way she said his name, Jerry, a little lilt in her voice, a small smile she probably didn't even know she was making. My radar pinged, quietly, just once. Who is this Jerry guy? I asked, keeping my voice casual. Have I met him? No, I don't think so. He's intense, driven, good at what he does. She paused. He actually told me I'd make a good lawyer, says I have a quick mind. Well, you do? You think I could do it, law school, I mean? I think you can do anything you set your mind to, Jane. She smiled at that, really smiled, and for a moment everything felt normal again. I decided not to push it. We were having a good week. No need to ruin it with jealousy, but I filed the name away, Jerry Mahoney, just in case. So you're the only one working late with this guy? I asked, couldn't help myself. Jane stiffened. Nick, I don't want to argue. We're having a good week. Please don't ruin it. I'm not trying to argue. I'm just asking. It's just work. Be glad for me that I'm getting more responsibilities. It shows how much they trust me. She didn't answer my question. I noticed that, but I let it go. Some battles aren't worth fighting, at least not tonight. You're right, I said. I'm sorry. I'm proud of you, Jane, really. She relaxed back into my shoulder. Thank you. We sat there in comfortable silence, watching the muted TV. Her breathing eventually slowed. Even, peaceful, but I stayed awake long after she fell asleep. Jerry Mahoney. The name echoed in my head. Probably nothing, right? Jane's interlude, the flowers, changed something. She couldn't quite explain it. Nick wasn't a romantic, not really. He showed love through actions, not grand gestures, fixing things around the house. Making sure her car was always running smoothly. Taking Trey to baseball practice so she could sleep in on Saturdays. But the flowers, the poem, the dinner reservations. It reminded her why she'd fallen in love with him in the first place. She resolved to cut back on the happy hours, to be more present, more attentive, to remember what she had instead of always wanting more. But even as she made those resolutions, Jerry's voice echoed in her head. You're too smart to be a paralegal forever, Jane. You could be a lawyer, a partner someday. You just need someone who believes in you. Nick believed in her, she knew that, But it was different when Jerry said it. Jerry was worldly, successful. He'd traveled to Vienna, to Tahiti. He wore shirts that cost $150 and thought nothing of it. Nick was comfortable, safe, predictable. Was predictable bad? She'd been happy being a paralegal, had been past tense. When did past tense become present doubt? She pushed the thought away, snuggled closer to her husband, told herself everything was fine, but the seed had been planted. And seeds have a way of growing whether you want them to or not. Saturday night arrived with the promise of something special. I'd spent the whole day nervous, like a teenager on his first date, cleaned the house, did some yard work, took Trey to Grace's place in Cramerton, about 40 minutes in the opposite direction of where we were heading. When I got back, Jane was still getting ready. I paced the living room, checked my watch, paced some more. Then she came down the stairs, blue dress, stopped about 4 inches above her knees, 3-inch heels that made her legs look incredible. She'd done her makeup, not just lipstick like usual, the whole works. Eyes, cheeks, everything, without overdoing it. My jaw actually dropped, like in the movies. "Honey," I breathed. "You look absolutely gorgeous." She blushed, actually blushed. "Thank you, you clean up pretty good yourself." I looked down at my outfit, khaki pants, gray button-down shirt, blue blazer. Suddenly I felt underdressed. "Ready?" I asked. "Let's go." The drive to Rock Hill took about 30 minutes on the back roads. Route 21 past the strip malls and fast food places into the nicer part of South Carolina. We talked the whole way, about Trey, about her brother Dylan, who'd apparently met a nice woman and was thinking about getting serious, about my boss Jason, who'd been hinting at retirement for years. "If he actually retires, there might be a promotion in it for me," I said. "Really?" "Nick, that's wonderful. Don't get too excited, it's not definite, but yeah, maybe." The restaurant was in a new shopping center on the outskirts of town. Orchid Garden, it was called, only been open a month but already getting rave reviews. I'd asked my buddy Cameron at work for recommendations. He's Thai, knows his stuff. Inside, the place was packed. Good sign. We got seated at a cozy table near the back. Jane studied the menu like it was written in hieroglyphics. "I have no idea what any of this is." "That's why you have me." I'd done my research. "Trust me?" "Always," I ordered for both of us, larp to start. Pad see ew with chicken for me, kai yang for her, sabai sabai to drink, which turned out to be non-alcoholic despite the fancy name. The food was incredible. Jane's eyes went wide with the first bite. "Oh my God, this is amazing." "Told you?" We ate, we laughed, we talked about everything and nothing, like old times, like the couple we used to be. Then she brought up Jerry again. "You know, Jerry thinks I should consider law school." I set down my fork. "Oh, he says I have the mind for it, that I could go part-time." "There are some good programs. Campbell Law, Elon, it would take about 5 years, but if that's what you want, I'll support you, you know that." "Really?" Her eyes lit up. "You'd be okay with it, the time commitment, the cost?" "Jane, I'll support whatever makes you happy." She reached across the table and squeezed my hand. "You're the best, Nick, you really are," I smiled. But inside, something soured. Jerry thinks, Jerry says, the name kept coming up, over and over, like a splinter I couldn't remove. After dinner, I surprised her again. Took her to a little dance club I'd found online, nothing fancy, just a place with good music and a decent floor. "Nick Fowler," she exclaimed as I led her inside. "Since when do you dance?" "Since my wife looks too beautiful not to show off." We danced for hours, fast songs, slow songs, the kind of close, sweaty dancing we hadn't done since before Trey was born, her body pressed against mine, her breath hot on my neck. When we finally got home, Grace had already put Trey to bed. The night ended on a high note, if you know what I mean. For one brief, shining moment, I thought we'd turned a corner. I was wrong. A few weeks later, the demands started. First, it was the laundry. "I need you to put your work clothes in a separate hamper," Jane announced one morning. "I don't want them mixed with mine." I blinked. "Why? They're dirty, dusty. I'm wearing nicer things to work now, and I don't want them contaminated." Contaminated. "Jane, I'm not digging ditches. I sit in an office most of the day." "It's just different. Jerry says I need to project a more professional image now. Fortune 1000 clients, that means updated wardrobe, that means keeping things separate." There it was again. Jerry says, "How often do clients see your laundry hamper?" I asked, trying to keep my voice light. She didn't laugh. "Don't be difficult, Nick, it's not a big deal." But it was. It was a very big deal because it was just the beginning. Next came the car. "I need a new car," Jane announced over dinner one night. Trey was upstairs doing homework. It was just the two of us. What's wrong with the one you have? It's a Kia Sedona, Nick, a mom car. I need something more professional. The Sedona was 6 years old. We just paid it off last year. It ran perfectly. I made sure of that. We just finished the payments, I pointed out. We were going to put that $325 a month into savings, remember? Things change. I park in that lot with BMWs and Volvos and Mercedes. It's embarrassing. Since when do you care what other people drive? She hesitated. That little tell, the chin in her hand, eyes drifting left. Jerry said, "Let me guess." I couldn't keep the edge out of my voice. Jerry said you need to upgrade your image. Jerry said you need to present a certain appearance. Jerry says, tell me something, Jane. What doesn't Jerry say? You're being jealous. It doesn't suit you. I'm being practical. There's a difference. We argued, round and round. The same points repeated. Fiscal responsibility versus professional image. Security versus status. What I wanted versus what she wanted. Finally, she said the thing that cut deepest. If you made more money, this wouldn't be a problem. I stared at her. This woman I'd loved for 13 years. This woman I'd built a life with. This woman who apparently thought I wasn't enough. Funny, I said quietly. Considering I make more money than you do. She didn't have an answer for that. A week later, she came home with a brand new BMW X1. Cobalt blue, leather interior, all the bells and whistles. I was in the front yard when she pulled into the driveway. Trey was with her. He jumped out, excited. Daddy. Look at Mom's new car. Isn't it cool? I looked at Jane, at the smug smile on her face as she climbed out, at the keys she dangled like a trophy. What the fuck is that? The words were out before I could stop them, in front of Trey. I'd never cursed in front of him before, never. Jane's smile faltered. It's my new car, what do you think? I think you've lost your damn mind. How much did this thing cost? $550 a month with my trade-in. $550 a month that you decided to spend without talking to me. I make my own money, Nick. I don't need your permission. Something inside me cracked, not broke, not yet, but cracked. Okay, I said, my voice eerily calm. Remember you said that, Jane. Don't ask me for shit, okay? I see where this marriage is headed. I walked inside, didn't look back. That night I slept in the spare room for the first time in 11 years of marriage. Jane's interlude, she hadn't meant to hurt him, not really. The car was supposed to be a good thing, a symbol of how far she'd come, of how much she'd grown. Jerry had gone with her to the dealership, helped her negotiate. Calculated what she could afford. He said the BMW was perfect, professional but not flashy, sophisticated but approachable. She hadn't told Nick that part, that Jerry was there, that he'd picked out the car, that they'd sat together, shoulder to shoulder, crunching numbers. Nothing happened, nothing physical anyway. Jerry was a perfect gentleman, always, but Nick didn't see it that way. He saw conspiracy, betrayal, something that wasn't there, or was it? I knew he was furious when he cursed in front of Trey, she admitted to herself that night alone in their bed while Nick sulked in the spare room. He's never done that before. Maybe she should return the car, apologize, try to make things right. But why should she? It was her money, her career, her life. If Nick couldn't accept that she was growing, changing, becoming someone new, that was his problem, wasn't it? Maybe it was a mistake getting the car without really talking to him, she thought, but she didn't return it, and she didn't apologize. It's my money, she told herself. I can do what I want with it. The cracks were spreading, wider and deeper with every passing day. And neither of them knew how to stop it. Things got worse after that. The cold silences, the separate bedrooms, the way we orbited each other like strangers sharing a house. Our relationship was the lowest it's ever been, I wrote in my journal. Yeah, I'd started keeping a journal, something the counselor suggested years ago when I was dealing with my mom's death. Never thought I'd need it for this. I found myself thinking about divorce, not wanting it, not yet, but thinking about it, what it would look like, how it would work, who would get what. I started getting my ducks in a row just in case. The house was in my name only, inherited property, that was important. Our savings account had a decent balance. Half of that would be mine. We made about the same money. No alimony concerns there. Trey, that was the hard part. Fathers almost never get custody. It's just how the system works. But if it came to that, if it actually came to that, I'd fight like hell for my son. I wasn't going to be anybody's plan B, not anymore. The serenity prayer echoed in my head. God grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change. But I wasn't ready to accept. Not yet. Courage to change the things I can. There was still a chance. There had to be, and wisdom to know the difference. That was the hardest part, knowing when to fight and when to let go. I just hoped I'd figure it out before it was too late. Things got worse after the BMW, not quickly, not all at once, but steadily, like water dripping on stone, day after day. Week after week, wearing away everything we'd built. Communication became functional, transactional, pass the salt, Trey has soccer practice, I'll be home late, the bare minimum required to run a household, the flowers stopped. The lunch dates disappeared. The little touches that used to happen naturally, a hand on the small of her back, a kiss on the forehead, all of it evaporated like morning dew. Jane worked late 3, sometimes 4 nights a week. Her sister Grace started picking up Trey from the bus more often than I liked. Just until this case is over, Jane would say, always that case, always Jerry's case. Weekends were worse. She'd disappear into the office on Saturday mornings and not come back until dinner. Sometimes later. Once or twice, she didn't come home until Sunday. We were living like roommates, polite strangers sharing a mortgage-free house and a 7-year-old son. Speaking of Trey, "Daddy," he tugged on my sleeve one evening while Jane was upstairs doing God knows what. "Are you and Mommy fighting?" Kids notice everything. You think they don't, but they do. "Why do you ask, buddy? You don't talk to each other anymore, and Mommy sleeps in the other room sometimes." I pulled him onto my lap. He was getting too big for that, but neither of us cared. Sometimes grown-ups have disagreements. It doesn't mean we don't love each other, or you. "Is it because of Mommy's new car?" Smart kid. Too smart. "It's complicated, Trey, but I promise you no matter what happens between me and Mommy, we both love you more than anything in the world. Okay." He nodded, but I could see the worry in his eyes. The same worry I felt in my gut every single day. One night I decided to confront it head-on. Jane was in the kitchen, pouring herself a glass of wine. Her third of the evening, if I was counting, and I was. "Jane, we need to talk," she sighed, that long-suffering sigh that said I was already annoying her just by existing. "About what, Nick? About us, about this marriage, about the fact that we have a serious problem right now." "Stop being so melodramatic," she took a long sip. "The case is complicated. It'll be over soon. Then things will go back to normal." "Normal? Jane, we haven't had sex in 3 months. We barely speak. Our son is asking me if we're getting divorced. That's not a case problem. That's a marriage problem." "Well, what do you want me to do about it? Quit my job, stay home and bake cookies?" "I want you to be present. I want my wife back. I want us to remember why we got married in the first place." She set down her wine glass, hard. "You know what your problem is, Nick. You don't understand what I'm dealing with. My job isn't like yours where you can just change a mop head and everything's fine." I felt the words like a slap. "Excuse me?" "You heard me. I'm dealing with complex legal issues, corporate litigation. Things that actually matter. I don't have time to worry about your feelings on top of everything else. It's above your meager way of thinking." I stood there stunned. This woman I'd loved for 13 years, this woman I'd built a life with, looking at me like I was something she'd scraped off the bottom of her shoe. "Wow!" My voice came out flat, dead. "When you get your head out of your ass, come talk to me. Until then, go away." I grabbed a beer from the fridge and walked out to the deck, sat there in the darkness, watching the stars and contemplating the wreckage of my marriage. If things kept going this way, it was going to end in divorce. I could feel it in my bones. Time to start getting my ducks in a row. I'm not stupid. I know how these things work. Jane had advantages I didn't. She worked at a law firm. She'd get discounted rates, maybe even free representation if she played her cards right. They'd throw everything they had at me while I scrambled to find a lawyer I could afford. My biggest fear was losing Trey. Fathers almost never get custody. It's just how the system works. Doesn't matter if you're the better parent. Doesn't matter if you're the one who stayed faithful. Courts favor mothers, period. But I had some things working in my favor. The house was in my name only, inherited property. That was important. I'd looked it up. Our savings account had a decent balance. Half of that would be mine. We made about the same money. Actually, I made a little more. No alimony concerns there. I needed information. Eyes and ears in places I couldn't go. That's when I thought of Rosa. Rosa Ramirez worked with me at the stadium, housekeeping supervisor, good woman, married to a construction guy named Edgar. We'd been friendly for years, but I'd never asked her for anything personal before. "Rosa, I need a favor." She looked up from her clipboard. "What kind of favor?" "Your sister, Estrella. She works at my wife's law firm, right, in housekeeping?" Yes, why? I told her everything, the late nights, the new clothes, Jerry Mahoney, the BMW he helped her pick out, the look on Jane's face whenever she said his name. Rosa listened without interrupting. When I finished, she shook her head slowly. I'm sorry, Nick, that's terrible. I need to know what's going on over there, what people are saying, whether they're— I couldn't finish the sentence. You want Estrella to be your eyes and ears. Is that wrong? She smiled sadly. No, it's not wrong. Let me talk to her. I'll let you know. 2 days later, Rosa gave me Estrella's number. She says she'll help. She knows what it's like to be betrayed by someone you love. What do you mean? That's her story to tell, not mine. I filed that away for later. Here's something people don't realize about folks like Rosa and Estrella, about housekeepers and janitors and maintenance workers. We're invisible. Important people don't notice us. They talk about anything and everything right in front of us because we don't register as human beings to them. We hear everything, know everything. The invisible people always do. Despite everything, I bought Jane a gift, a 4-leaf clover pendant, small, delicate, tiny diamonds in each leaf. I found it at a jewelry store in the mall and thought of her immediately. Maybe I was a glutton for punishment. Maybe I still believed things could change. She was surprised when I gave it to her. What's this for? The trial starts next week. I wanted to wish you luck. Her eyes softened just for a moment, a glimpse of the woman I used to know. Thank you, Nick, that's really sweet. She even hugged me, first real physical contact in weeks. Maybe there was still hope. The trial lasted 3 weeks. I don't understand much about legal proceedings. Jane couldn't talk about it anyway, confidentiality and all that, but I could see the toll it was taking. She came home exhausted every night, dark circles under her eyes, tension in her shoulders. I tried to be supportive. Made sure Trey was taken care of, cooked dinner when I could, gave her space when she needed it. Then, on a Wednesday in the second week, everything changed. Jane came home glowing, actually glowing, like someone had lit a fire inside her. We won. She practically danced through the front door. Summary judgment, the judge ruled in our favor. That's great, honey. What happened? I found it. She was breathless with excitement. A legal precedent from 1874, an obscure case that nobody remembered. It completely undermined the other side's argument. The judge had no choice but to rule for our client. You found it. That's amazing, Jane. Jerry gave me credit in front of the whole firm. The partners shook my hand. David Platt himself told me I had a bright future. She grabbed my hands. This is it, Nick. This is the beginning of everything. I smiled, tried to share her joy. But something cold settled in my stomach at the mention of Jerry's name. We should celebrate, I said. Let me make reservations somewhere nice for Friday. That would be wonderful. She kissed my cheek, first time in months. I'm going to take a shower. God, I'm exhausted. As I watched her walk upstairs, I wondered if this victory would bring her back to me, or push her further away. Jane's interlude, the trial, had been the most stressful 3 weeks of her life, but also the most exhilarating. Finding that 1874 precedent was her proudest professional moment. Hours of research, pages and pages of dusty legal texts. And there it was, the key that unlocked everything. When the judge announced the summary judgment, she felt like she could fly. But that wasn't the only thing that happened. After the announcement, when everyone was celebrating, Jerry had pulled her aside. The hallway was empty, just the two of them. Jane, his voice was low, intimate. I couldn't have done this without you. Jerry, Before she could finish, he hugged her close, too close. She felt his lips brush her cheek, moving toward her mouth. She turned her head just barely. His kiss landed on her cheek instead of her lips, but the look in his eyes when they separated, that look said everything. I should get back, she stammered. Of course, he smiled, that knowing smile. We'll talk more later. She thought about it all the way home, the hug that lasted too long, the attempted kiss, the look. Nick was an everyday kind of guy. Comfortable, predictable, safe. Jerry was metropolitan, worldly. He talked about Vienna, Tahiti, places she'd only seen in magazines. During the trial, she'd had lunch with Jerry and the executives from their client company. High-end restaurant called the Treehouse. The kind of place where appetizers cost more than her weekly grocery bill. They ordered casually, like people going to Burger King. Jerry's dress shirts cost $150 each. She knew because she'd asked. I found myself becoming more dissatisfied with my current life, she admitted to herself that night, lying awake while Nick snored softly beside her. Hoping for more than Nick could give her, more than this life could offer, just more. Estrella called me Thursday evening. Senor Nick, there's something you should know. Her accent was thicker than Rose's, but her English was good enough. What is it? After the trial victory, when everyone was celebrating, I saw something. My stomach clenched. What did you see? Senor Mahoney, he hugged your wife in the hallway when no one was looking. She paused. He tried to kiss her on the mouth. She turned and he got her cheek, but the look between them afterward. What kind of look? The kind that means something, Senor Nick, I'm sorry. I thanked her and hung up. Sat in my car in the stadium parking lot, staring at nothing. So that's how it was. My wife hadn't slept with Jerry Mahoney. Not yet, but she wanted to, and he definitely wanted her. The question was, what was I going to do about it? Thursday morning, my boss, Jason, called Isaac and me into his office. Sit down, boys, got some news. Jason had been threatening to retire for years. We all figured he'd die at his desk before he actually pulled the trigger, but the look on his face said this time was different. I put in my papers last week. I'm done at the end of next month. Isaac and I exchanged glances. This was it. John said they're not hiring from outside, Jason continued. So one of you is getting my job. I didn't recommend one over the other. You're both qualified. It's John's call. When's the interview? I asked. Thursday, 10 a.m., both of you, Tom from upstairs and someone from HR. We shook hands with Jason and walked out together. Isaac clapped me on the shoulder. May the best man win. No hard feelings either way. None, rather it be one of us than some suit from outside. The interview went well. Nearly an hour of questions, some expected, some not. I didn't tell Jane about any of it. Why, I couldn't say. Maybe I wanted to see how everything else played out first. If I got the job, it meant a $25,000 raise. Better benefits, day shifts only, no more weekends unless I wanted them. Pretty good for a guy who just changes mop heads. Friday noon, my phone rang, Jane's name on the screen. Hey, I answered while eating lunch in the break room. What's up? Nick, I can't make dinner tonight. The words hit like a punch. I'd spent 2 days planning, made reservations at that French place she'd been wanting to try. Why not? Jerry is taking everyone out to celebrate the trial win. It's a big thing, the whole firm. Can't or won't, Jane? What? I'm asking if you can't make it, meaning you have no choice, or won't make it, meaning you're choosing them over me. Stop being an asshole. I just found out about it an hour ago. This is the first chance I had to call. The whole firm, you said, does that include spouses? She hesitated, just a fraction of a second, but I caught it. It's only for staff, not even the rest of the firm, just those who worked on the case. We can reschedule for tomorrow. No, we can't. I'm scheduled this weekend. You would know that if you paid any attention to my life. Nick, have fun at your party, Jane. Have fun with Jerry. I hung up before she could respond. Then I texted Estrella, party tonight. What do you know? Her response came 15 minutes later. Big celebration, everyone invited, very fancy. New catering hall on Garrison Road off York. Everyone invited. Does that include spouses? See. It's a big deal, partners bringing wives. Client executives bringing families, so Jane lied about everything. Spouses were invited, she just didn't want me there. The question was, why? I was about to find out. I watched from the window as Jane got home early that afternoon. She had a garment bag, a shoe box. Her hair was freshly done, different than when she'd left that morning. All dressed up for Jerry, not for me. I was playing video games with Trey when she came downstairs, didn't acknowledge her, didn't say a word. I'm going now, she said. Don't wait up. MHMM. She stood there a moment, maybe expecting more. I didn't give her the satisfaction. After she left, I told Trey we were going on an adventure. Drove him to his grandparents' house in Cramerton. Don't tell Mommy I dropped him off, I said to Eileen at the door. I have a surprise for her. A surprise indeed. Jane texted while I was driving back, where are you? Took Trey out to eat. Needed some father-son time. She didn't respond. She was already gone by the time I got home. I didn't rush, didn't panic. Took a shower. Put on nice slacks, a button-down shirt, my blue blazer. Same outfit I'd worn to the Thai restaurant that night that felt like a lifetime ago. Stopped at Webb's Kitchen for a fish sandwich. No point confronting your cheating wife on an empty stomach. The catering hall was easy to find. New building off Garrison Road, just like Estrella said. The parking lot was packed when I pulled in around 8. No one was guarding the door. Why would they? Private event, only invited guests. I walked in like I owned the place. The party was in one of the smaller rooms. 50, maybe 60 people, some sitting at tables, talking, others on the dance floor, music playing, glasses clinking, everyone celebrating their big win. Several people recognized me as I made my way through the crowd. co-workers of Jane's I'd met at various firm functions. I saw their confusion, their sideways glances. Wasn't I supposed to be working tonight? Isn't that what Jane told everyone? I spotted her at the head table, front of the room, seated with the senior partners and their wives, and him, Jerry Mahoney, first time I'd seen him in the flesh, at least 10 years older than me. Double-chinned despite the expensive suit, gold cufflinks catching the light. Thinning hair slicked back with something shiny. This was my competition. This was the man who was stealing my wife. But it wasn't about looks. I understood that now. It was about what he represented: money, power, status, everything I couldn't give her. They were sitting close, too close. She was leaning into him, laughing at something he said. His hand rested on her shoulder. The other hand was under the table, on her leg probably, just like Estrella described at the trial celebration. And nobody at that table seemed to think anything was wrong, like it was perfectly normal for a married woman to be cuddled up with a man who wasn't her husband. I started walking toward them. The murmurs began almost immediately, people noticing, chairs shifting. Someone called my name. I didn't stop. Jane and Jerry were so focused on each other they didn't see me coming. It was David Platt, senior partner, who noticed first. "Nick," his surprise was obvious. "I thought you couldn't make it tonight." Jane's head snapped up. The color drained from her face. "Nick, what are you doing here?" I smiled, not a nice smile. The kind of smile that says everything is about to go very, very wrong. "Well, dear wife, I found out that spouses were actually invited tonight, contrary to what you told me." I spread my arms wide. "Surprise! Nick, we can talk about this when I get home." "I don't think we can, Jane. See, I came here expecting to find my wife celebrating with her coworkers. Instead, I find her practically sitting in another man's lap." I turned to Jerry, who looked like he wanted to disappear into his expensive suit. "You must be Jerry Mahoney. I've heard so much about you." He started to speak, but Platt cut him off. "Nick, I don't know what's going on here, but I think it's best if you take this somewhere else." I looked at him. This man who'd watched my wife flirt with another man and said nothing, did nothing. "Well, Davy." His face went red at the nickname. Nobody called him Davy, ever. "I think you do know what's going on. I think everyone at this table knows. That man has his hand on my wife's leg right now under the table, and he's not her husband. I am." Gasps around the room. The music stopped. Every eye turned to the head table. "You want a lawyer, Jane? I hope this firm offers employee discounts. You're going to need one when I file for divorce." "Nick, please. You know what's funny? There's this prayer, the Serenity Prayer. My mother used to say it. God grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change." I laughed bitterly. "I can't change that my wife no longer loves me, that she's an adulteress, but I have the courage to walk away from a failed marriage, the wisdom to know when it's over." I straightened my blazer. "One more thing, I'm the guy who gets tickets to events at Bojangles Stadium, games, concerts, you name it. From this moment forward, no one from this firm will ever get so much as a parking pass, not even for a free show." I turned and walked out. The whole place was silent. You could have heard a pin drop. I didn't look back, kept my head high, my shoulders straight. It wasn't until I got to my car that the tears came. Jane's interlude had started with lunch. Wednesday, the day after the trial ended. Jerry had asked her to join him at Helen's Bistro, quiet place downtown, intimate tables, low lighting. "Jane, I want to talk to you about something." "Sure, what's on your mind?" He'd reached across the table and taken her hand. She should have pulled away. She didn't. "I'm wondering if you would be my date to the party this weekend." "Jerry, I'm married. I have a child." I know this is complicated, but Jane," he squeezed her hand, "working with you has been incredible. You're not just smart and funny. You're beautiful, captivating. You deserve so much more than what you have." I don't know what to say. "Then don't say anything. Not yet. Think about it." He smiled that smile, the one that made her feel like the most important person in the world. "I went to Vienna last year, 2 weeks. The year before, Tahiti. I want to show you the world, Jane. I want to give you everything you've ever wanted." She should have said no, immediately, unequivocally. Instead, she said nothing, and any answer that isn't no is yes. The party itself was a blur of champagne and compliments. She wore a new dress, blue, Jerry's favorite color. She told herself it was a coincidence. When Nick walked in, she couldn't process it. Her brain simply refused to compute. He was supposed to be working. He was supposed to be gone. Mr. Platt was talking to him. Nick called him Davy. Nobody had ever done that to his face. Then the accusations, the Serenity Prayer, the threat about tickets. After Nick left, Platt and Rogers pulled her and Jerry into a private room. The conversation that followed was short and brutal. "This firm has a reputation to maintain," Platt said. "Whatever is going on between you two, it ends now. Publicly, understand." They left the party separately. Jane couldn't look anyone in the eye. "I felt like I was doing the walk of shame," she thought as she walked to her car. But I hadn't even done anything. Not yet, not technically. But in every way that mattered, she already had. The drive home was a blur, tears streaming down my face, hands white-knuckled on the steering wheel, mind racing through 13 years of memories trying to figure out where it all went wrong. I pulled over twice, once to wipe my eyes so I could see the road, once because I thought I might throw up. By the time I got home, the house was dark, empty. Trey was at his grandparents' until tomorrow. Jane was still at the party, probably trying to do damage control. Good, I needed time to think. I went to the garage and grabbed our suitcases, started packing, work clothes, everyday clothes, my laptop, toiletries, the essentials, then I stopped. Why the hell was I the one leaving? This was my house, my name on the deed, inherited from my mother. Jane had no legal claim to it whatsoever. If anyone was leaving, it should be her. I unpacked my bags and carried them to the master bedroom. Then I went to her closet. It took about an hour to move all her things to the spare room. Clothes piled on the bed, overflow on the floor. I cleared her side of the bathroom vanity, dumping everything into a cardboard box. Petty, maybe, but it felt good. When I was done, I grabbed a beer and went out to the deck. Nice night. Warm for late fall, North Carolina weather, you never know what you're going to get. I sat there in the darkness, drinking and thinking. The serenity prayer came back to me again. Accept the things I cannot change. My wife's heart was gone, that much was clear. Courage to change the things I can. I could end this. Walk away with my dignity intact. Wisdom to know the difference, that was the hard part. I was on my third beer when I heard cars pulling into the driveway. Multiple cars, at least two. Then the doorbell, banging on the door. "Nick, open up." Jane's voice, frantic, angry, I didn't move, more banging. "Nick, I know you're in there, your car is in the driveway." I'd locked the deadbolt. The one with no outside key. She couldn't get in if she tried. The banging continued, 10 minutes, 15. Loud enough that I saw lights come on at both neighbors' houses, let them wonder, I didn't care anymore. Then I heard the side gate open, footsteps on the grass, someone coming around the house. I stood up, beer bottle in hand, and looked over the deck railing. Jerry Mahoney emerged from the shadows, heading toward the back porch steps. "Stop right there." He looked up, squinted in the darkness. "Fowler, we need to talk." "No, we don't. You're trespassing. Turn around and leave." He kept walking, started climbing the steps. "Listen, I know you're upset, but—" I said stop. He didn't stop. I threw the beer bottle, not at him exactly. More of a warning shot. At least that's what I told myself. It hit him square in the forehead with a sound I'll never forget. A hollow bonk like knocking on a coconut. Jerry went down, dropped like a sack of bricks, just crumpled on the steps and didn't move. "Oh my God!" Jane's voice behind him. She must have followed through the gate. "Nick, what did you do? You killed him." I looked at Jerry's motionless body, at the beer bottle lying beside him, at my wife's horrified face. What had I done? The police arrived in about 10 minutes. Felt like half the Greenville PD showed up. Blue lights everywhere, neighbors coming out onto their porches, the whole neighborhood getting a show. First officer through the gate was a woman with her gun drawn. Everyone freeze. She took in the scene quickly. Jerry on the ground, starting to groan, Jane kneeling beside him, me standing on the deck with another beer in my hand. "You," she pointed at me. "Hands where I can see them, don't move." They handcuffed me, dragged me off the deck, read me my rights while Jerry sat up, holding his head and yelling that I'd tried to kill him. I laughed, couldn't help it. "What's so funny?" the officer demanded. "That big-ass bruise on his forehead looks like a third eye." Not my finest moment. But I was past caring. They put me in a squad car and drove me downtown, just like on Law and Order. Except the seats are harder than they look on TV, and the whole car smells like desperation and fast food. At the station, they sat me on a bench and cuffed me to a metal bar. I'd been there about 20 minutes when a familiar face walked by. "Nick, what the hell are you doing here?" Officer Greg. He moonlighted as security at the arena sometimes. Good guy. We'd had beers together after a few shows. "Long story, got a minute?" He looked around, then sat down next to me. "Talk fast." I told him everything. The party, finding Jane with Jerry, the confrontation, coming home, locking the door, Jerry coming through my gate and ignoring my warning. Greg listened carefully. Where in the yard did you hit him? He came through the side gate, came around the corner toward the back porch. That's when I threw the bottle. So he was on your property, inside your gate. And you warned him to stop. Twice. He ignored me both times. Greg started to smile. You know about the castle doctrine. The what? North Carolina law, you have the right to defend your life and property from intruders, even with deadly force if necessary. Deadly force? You used a beer bottle. Trust me, that's mild. He leaned closer. Here's the important question. Did you know your wife was with him? I caught on quick. No, I had no idea. I thought he was there alone. After what happened at the party, I figured he came to hurt me, to get revenge for embarrassing him. Good. Say exactly that when they interview you, protecting yourself, protecting your property. You never saw your wife until after he went down. Thanks, Greg, I owe you one. Just telling you you're right, citizen. Detective Wilson came for me about an hour later. Typical interrogation room. Small table, 3 metal chairs, one-way mirror on the wall, fluorescent lights humming overhead. Smelled like coffee and anxiety. I'm Detective Wilson. You've been read your rights? Yes. Good. Tell me what happened tonight. I gave him the story exactly as Greg suggested. Confronted my wife at a party when I found her with another man. Came home to cool off. Locked the door, sat on the deck minding my own business. Then some guy came through my gate, ignored my warnings, kept coming. I felt threatened, defended myself. Wilson listened with a poker face. When I finished, he leaned back in his chair. Your wife says Mr. Mahoney was there with her, as her guest. That may be true, but I didn't know that. All I saw was a man trespassing on my property, ignoring my commands to stop. I had every right to defend myself. She says it's her house too, marital property. She's wrong. The house was inherited from my mother. My name is the only name on the deed. She has no legal claim to it whatsoever. Castle doctrine applies. Wilson's eyes narrowed. You seem to know a lot about the law for a maintenance worker. I read, is that a crime? He stared at me for a long moment, then he got up. Wait here. He was gone for almost an hour. When he came back, his expression had changed, less confident, more annoyed. You're free to go, don't leave town, we may have more questions. Am I being charged? Not at this time. I stood up. Thanks. I'll decline the police escort home if you don't mind. I'll call a lift. The house was quiet when I got back. Jane's BMW was gone, but there was another car in the driveway. Black Mercedes G-Wagon. Jerry's, presumably, must have left it when he rode to the hospital in the ambulance. I went around back, front door deadbolt was still locked, and sat on the deck for a minute thinking. Then I pulled out my phone and called a tow company. Yes, I need a car removed from my property. It's blocking my driveway. Black Mercedes. No, I don't know whose it is. Just get it out of here. 2 hours later, I watched Jerry's $100,000 SUV get loaded onto a flatbed and hauled away. Perfect timing, too. Jane and Jerry pulled up not 5 minutes later. What the fuck? Jerry jumped out of Jane's BMW, staring at the empty space where his car used to be. Where's my car, you bastard? He started toward me. I held up my hand. Step 1 foot onto my property and I'll hit you with another beer bottle. I've got plenty more. I'll have you arrested again. For what? Defending myself on my own property. Castle doctrine, Jerry. Look it up. I have the right to use force against trespassers, even deadly force. I was here with your wife. She invited me. Doesn't matter. This isn't her property. It's mine. My name is the only name on the deed. Jane's voice cut through the night. What do you mean it's your house? We're married. It's both of ours. I looked at her. This woman I used to love. Jerry, old boy, you want to break the bad news to her. You're the lawyer. Explain inherited property. Jerry's face fell. He knew. Of course he knew. He just hadn't told her. Your mother's house, he said quietly. It passed directly to you outside the marital estate. Give the man a gold star. I tossed him a piece of paper with the tow company's number. Your car's at this address. Pick it up whenever you want. Now get off my street. I turned to Jane. The door's unlocked. Your things are in the spare room. That's where you'll be sleeping. If you don't like it, there's a Holiday Inn on Main Street. I went inside without looking back. Jane's interlude, she should have gone with Nick. When the police took him away, she should have followed, made sure he was okay. Done what a wife is supposed to do. Instead, she went with Jerry. To the hospital. 3 hours in the emergency room while they checked him for a concussion. 3 hours of forms and questions and worried looks from nurses who clearly thought she was Jerry's girlfriend. 3 hours when she should have been with her husband. Another mistake, she thought as she sat in the uncomfortable waiting room chair. The mistakes just keep piling up. Jerry was fine, minor concussion, massive bruise on his forehead. They gave him some painkillers and sent him home with her. The police interviewed them both at the hospital. Jerry wanted to press charges, demanded it. "Please don't," she begged. "Jerry, please. He's Trey's father if he goes to jail. He assaulted me, Jane. He could have killed me. With a beer bottle, it was a beer bottle." But Jerry insisted, and the police took his statement. On the drive back to get Jerry's car, he ranted the whole way, calling Nick a dumb hick janitor, a violent redneck, a waste of skin. She didn't defend her husband, didn't say a word. Just drove and thought about how her life had gone so wrong. "Nick thinks I'm cheating," she realized. "He found me with the man he thinks I'm cheating with. At a party I told him he wasn't invited to. Then he got arrested for assaulting that man. And instead of being with my husband, I went to the hospital with his rival." Every single action she'd taken had made things worse. "Every action I made was counter to telling Nick I wasn't cheating," she admitted to herself. But it was too late now. Far, far too late. I woke up to Trey banging on the bedroom door. Dad, why is the door locked?" For a moment, I forgot everything. Then it all came crashing back. "Just a minute, buddy." I got up and opened the door. Trey looked past me into the room. "Where's Mom?" "She slept in the other room. We had a disagreement." "Another one?" "Yeah, another one." I knelt down to his level. "Did you have fun at Grandma and Grandpa's? We made cookies, chocolate chip. I saved some for you and Mom." He held up a little bag like a trophy. "That's great, buddy. How about we go out for breakfast? You want to hit Honeycomb Cafe?" His eyes lit up. "Rainbow waffles." "Rainbow waffles it is." "Can I go tell Mom?" Before I could stop him, he was running down the hall. 20 minutes later, we were all standing in the living room. Jane looked like she hadn't slept at all. Dark circles under her eyes, hair a mess, still in yesterday's clothes. "I thought we could take my car," she said. "We're taking my car." "Nick, my car. It's not new or fancy, but it runs and it looks great." Trey looked between us. "I want to ride in Mommy's car. It's nicer." I saw Jane smirk, the little flash of victory in her eyes. "Fine, you two take the BMW. I'll meet you there." I walked out before she could respond. Honeycomb Cafe in Belmont was packed for Sunday morning. I got there first, put my name in. 15-20-minute wait, the hostess said. Jane and Trey arrived while I was standing by the door. He ran to me, excited. "Daddy, we passed a fire truck on the way. The sirens were so loud." "Very cool, buddy." Jane stood a few feet away, arms crossed, not looking at me. The hostess called my name. We got a booth by the window. Trey sat next to me. Jane sat across. We ordered. Rainbow waffles for Trey, eggs and bacon for me. Jane just got coffee. Trey did most of the talking, about his grandparents, about the cookies, about the book he was reading. Jane and I barely spoke to each other. When the check came, I paid it without a word. "I have to get to work," I said, standing. "Work? I thought you were off today." "Changed my schedule. Someone has to pay the bills." I kissed Trey on the forehead. "See you later, buddy. Be good for Mom." I left an hour before my shift started. Sitting in that booth with Jane was harder than any double shift I'd ever worked. Monday morning, Estrella called. "Nick, I have news." I dropped the Senor request. It was just Nick now. "What happened?" "Your wife and Senor Mahoney." They were called into Mr. Platt's office this morning, first thing. And there was yelling, a lot of yelling. Kathy from reception could hear it down the hall. "What did they say?" "I don't know the words, but when they came out, Senor Mahoney looked furious. Your wife looked broken, embarrassed. No one is talking to her today. People avoid her in the hallway." "Good." "Also, everyone is talking about how you called Mr. Platt Davy. No one has ever done that before. People are shocked." Despite everything, I laughed. "Yeah, that was probably not my finest moment. It was brave, Nick, stupid, but brave." "Thanks, Estrella, I mean that, for everything. You're welcome. When this is over, you owe me dinner." "Deal." Wednesday night, I cooked dinner, meatloaf. Mashed potatoes, corn, the kind of meal that says we need to talk without actually saying it. Trey dominated the conversation, as usual, stories from school, complaints about homework, plans for the weekend. When he went upstairs to play video games, I turned to Jane. "We need to talk about the divorce." Her head snapped up. "Divorce?" "Yes, divorce. That thing that happens when a marriage ends, which ours has. Nick, I don't want a divorce. And I didn't want a cheating wife. We don't always get what we want. I didn't cheat. I never cheated. How many times do I have to say it? You didn't sleep with him. Fine, I believe that. But what you did was worse. You chose him over me, over and over again. That's a different kind of cheating." She was quiet for a moment. When she spoke, her voice was different, softer. I want a separation, not a divorce, time apart to figure things out. Figure what out, whether Jerry's a better option? No, whether we can fix this, whether there's anything left to save. There isn't. How can you be so sure? I leaned forward. Because I know you, Jane. I've known you for 13 years. You're not looking for separation. You're looking for permission. Permission to date Jerry without technically cheating. Permission to test drive a new life while keeping me on the hook as a backup plan. That's not. I'm not going to be your plan B, Jane. I refuse. You want out. Fine, you're out, but don't pretend it's about figuring things out. We both know better. She stood up. If that's how you feel, maybe I should just leave. Maybe you should. Wednesday was my day off. I was watching Sports Center when the doorbell rang, answered it to find a well-dressed man in a gray suit holding an envelope. Nick Fowler, that's me. He thrust the envelope into my hands. You've been served. He took a picture with his phone and walked away. Son of a bitch. I called my attorney immediately. Sarah Anderson at Stott, Howell, and Stansel. Good firm, good reputation, not cheap, but not Rogers Pratt either. Can you come in today? She asked after I explained. I'll be there in an hour. Her office was in a converted Victorian house near downtown, old-fashioned but professional. She met me in a conference room and I handed over the papers. She read through them carefully. When she finished, she looked up. It's a basic separation agreement. She's not asking for any money, just half of the current account balances. 90-day separation period. After that, either party can file for divorce or request marriage counseling. I'm not sitting around for 90 days while she sleeps with whoever she wants. You don't have to. Listen, Nick, she left the marital home without taking your son. That's abandonment. We can use that. How? Wait 2 weeks to establish the pattern, then we file for divorce ourselves. Irretrievably broken marriage. Cite the alleged affair, the abandonment, her leaving the child. Will it work? No guarantees in family court, but you have a strong case. I nodded. What about the house? Inherited property, not part of the marital estate. She has no claim. Thank God for small favors. When I got home, I went straight to Jane's closet. Empty. Her clothes were gone. I checked the spare room. Nothing. The bathroom. Her toiletries were gone too. She'd moved out. While I was at the lawyer's office, she'd packed up and left. But Trey's room was untouched. His clothes, his toys. His books, all still there. She'd left her son behind. What kind of mother does that? Telling Trey was the hardest thing I've ever done. Where's Mommy? He'd noticed her things were gone the moment he came home from school. Mommy moved out, buddy. She's staying with Aunt Grace for a while. Why? Because Mommy and Daddy need some time apart to figure things out. Is she coming back? I wanted to lie, to tell him everything would be fine, that Mommy would be home soon and we'd all be a family again. But I couldn't. I don't know, Trey. I hope so, but I don't know. He cried. Of course he cried. What 7-year-old wouldn't? I held him until he fell asleep. Then I went to my room and cried too. Jane's interlude, she moved in with Grace. It was supposed to be temporary. A few days to clear her head, to figure out her next move. Grace had questions, 1,000 questions. What happened? Why did you leave? Where's Trey? What about Nick? Jane lied, couldn't help herself. Nick and I had a fight. He threw me out, wouldn't let me stay. Grace believed her. Why wouldn't she? Nick had never been violent before. But after what happened with Jerry, that poor man, Grace said, he could have been killed. Poor man, like Nick was the villain in all this. The truth was more complicated. The truth always was. She'd left because she couldn't face him anymore. Couldn't stand the way he looked at her, like she was a stranger, like she'd broken something that could never be fixed. Maybe she had. My mistakes keep piling up, she thought that night, lying in Grace's guest room, staring at the ceiling. Lying to Nick. Lying to her sister, leaving her son. But there was one more mistake on the horizon, one more terrible decision that would change everything. She just didn't know it yet. The next few days were chaos. I had to rearrange my entire life. Called my boss, explained the situation. Got 2 days off to figure out childcare. The school had an after-school program. That covered the regular days, but nights, weekends, finding someone to watch a 7-year-old until 11 at night wasn't easy. I called Rosa at work. I might have a solution, she said. Let me make some calls. I'll let you know tomorrow. What kind of solution? She smiled mysteriously. Don't want to get your hopes up. Just trust me. The next day, she cornered me before my shift. Don't even start, I said when I saw her smirk. Start what? I was just going to tell you that your childcare problem might be solved. By who? That smile again. You'll see soon. I let it go. I had bigger problems to worry about, like the phone call from Grace that came 3 days later. Nick Fowler, what the hell is going on with you and my sister? Hello, Grace. Nice to hear from you too. Don't get smart with me. Jane says you threw her out, that you assaulted her boyfriend and then kicked her onto the street. Is that true? I felt my blood pressure spike. Let me tell you what actually happened, then you can decide who's lying. I told her everything. The party, Jerry. The lies, the confrontation, the assault, Jane choosing to go to the hospital with Jerry instead of staying with me. She left me, Grace. She packed her bags and walked out. I didn't throw her out. And that boyfriend she mentioned, he was trespassing on my property. I defended myself. Silence on the line. I don't. Nick, she said. I'm sure she did. Ask her about Jerry Mahoney. Ask her about the company party she told me spouses weren't invited to when they were. Ask her about any of it, then call me back. I hung up. 2 hours later, Grace called again. Nick, I'm sorry, I talked to Jane. She admitted she left on her own, that she filed for separation, not you. What did she say about Jerry? Just that he's a friend, a colleague, that nothing happened between them. Do you believe her? Long pause. I don't know what to believe anymore. Join the club. Mom and Dad are furious with her. She keeps talking about wanting more out of life, like what she had wasn't enough. It wasn't, that's the whole problem. Nick, for what it's worth, I'm sorry, you deserved better. Thanks, Grace, that means a lot. After I hung up, I sat in the break room and thought about what she'd said. Jane had dreams of grandeur, of a bigger life, of more. But she'd traded everything real for something that never existed. And now she had nothing at all. 2 weeks since Jane walked out, 2 weeks of single parenting, of figuring out breakfast, lunch, dinner. Of homework help and bedtime stories and answering questions I didn't have answers to. When is Mommy coming home? I don't know, buddy. Does she still love me? Of course she does. She loves you more than anything. Then why did she leave? That one kept me up at night. The after-school program at Trey's school was a lifesaver, ran until 6 every evening. Gave me enough time to get off work and pick him up without rushing. But nights were harder. Weekends were impossible. I'd switch to day shifts temporarily, but that couldn't last forever. My boss was understanding, but understanding only goes so far when there's a stadium to run. I might have a solution, Rosa said one morning in the break room. What kind of solution? She had that look. The one that said she knew something I didn't. Let me make some calls, I'll let you know. Rosa, come on, don't leave me hanging. I don't want to get your hopes up, just trust me. I let it go. What choice did I have? The next day, Rosa cornered me before my shift. Don't even start, I said when I saw her smirk. Start what? I was just going to tell you that your childcare problem might be solved. How? My sister, Estrella, she wants to help. Estrella, the woman who'd been my eyes and ears at Jane's firm. But she works full-time. 7 to 2, she'd be free to pick up Trey from the bus or the after-school program, watch him until you get home, even weekends if you need. Why would she do that? Rosa's smile softened. Because she's a good person, Nick, and because she knows what it's like to need help and have nobody offer. What do you mean? That's her story to tell, not mine. I thought about it. Estrella had already done so much for me. The information about the party, the updates about Jane and Jerry at work. She'd risked her job to help a man she barely knew. Tell her to call me, I said. We'll work something out. That evening my phone rang, Jane's name on the screen. I almost didn't answer, almost. What do you want? I want to see Trey. Her voice was small, tired. I miss him, Nick. You should have thought about that before you walked out. Please, he's my son too. She was right. Whatever problems we had, Trey wasn't part of them. He shouldn't suffer because his parents couldn't get along. Fine, you can pick him up tomorrow at 6, have him back by 8. Thank you, Nick. Don't. I hung up before she could say anything else. Jane showed up at exactly 6 the next day. She looked different, tired, thinner. The dark circles under her eyes spoke of sleepless nights and worried days. Good, let her worry. Trey ran to her the moment she walked through the door. Mommy. Hey, baby. She scooped him up, holding him tight. I missed you so much. I watched from the kitchen doorway, arms crossed. 8 o'clock, not a minute later. Nick, can we talk just for a minute? There's nothing to talk about. Please, I just want to explain. Explain what? How you lied to me. How you chose Jerry over your own family. How you left your son behind when you walked out. I kept my voice low, didn't want Trey to hear. You made your choice, Jane, now live with it. She flinched like I'd slapped her. 8 o'clock, I repeated. Don't be late. I went out to the deck while she said goodbye, couldn't stand to watch her with Trey. Couldn't stand to see the woman I used to love acting like a visitor in her own home. She brought him back at 7:45, 15 minutes early, maybe trying to score points. Trey was asleep in her arms. She carried him upstairs, tucked him in, kissed his forehead. I watched from the hallway. When she came back down, I was waiting in the living room. "He had a good time," she said. "We went to the park, got ice cream." "Good." Silence stretched between us. "Trey told me about the after-school program," she said. "He said he made new friends. He's adjusting. He also told me you might be getting a promotion." I hadn't mentioned that to anyone except Rosa. Trey must have overheard me on the phone. "Jason's retiring," I said. "I interviewed for his position." "That's wonderful, Nick, really?" She sounded sincere. "When will you know?" "Any day now. I'm happy for you. I know how hard you've worked." "Do you?" The words came out sharper than I intended. "Because last I heard I was just a janitor who changes mop heads, not exactly the ambitious type." She looked down at her hands. "I shouldn't have said those things. I was wrong." "Yeah, you were." "Nick, I never meant to hurt you. I wanted more for us, for our family. Is that so terrible?" "What's terrible is how you went about it. The lies, the secrets, Jerry." I spat the name like a curse. "You want more, Jane, go get it, but don't expect me to be waiting when your dreams don't pan out." "I'm not asking you to wait. I'm asking you to understand." "I understand plenty." "You wanted a bigger life. I wasn't big enough for you." I stood up. "It's time for you to go." She didn't argue, just grabbed her purse and walked to the door. "Nick." "What?" "For what it's worth, I'm sorry." I didn't respond, just closed the door behind her. The call came 2 days later. "Nick, Tom wants to see you and Isaac in his office. Now." My heart was pounding as I walked upstairs. This was it, the moment of truth. Isaac was already there when I arrived. Tom sat behind his desk, looking serious. "Sit down, both of you." We sat. "I'm not going to drag this out," Tom said. "We've made our decision about Jason's replacement." I held my breath. "Nick, you're our new facility manager." The words hit me like a wave. Relief, joy, vindication. "Isaac," Tom continued, "we're not losing you. We're restructuring, creating a new position, head of the maintenance department, same level as environmental. You'll report directly to Nick." Isaac's face went through about 12 emotions in 3 seconds. Disappointment, acceptance, relief. "It's a promotion," Tom clarified. "Raise and better benefits included. We couldn't choose between you two, so we made room for both." I looked at Isaac. He looked at me. "Congratulations," he said, extending his hand. "You too." I shook it firmly. "No hard feelings?" "None. Rather it be one of us than some outsider." Tom smiled. "Good. Nick, you'll shadow Jason for the next month until he leaves. Isaac will be interviewing for a new head of environmental in the coming weeks. You'll both start your new positions officially on the 1st of next month." We shook hands all around. When I walked out of that office, I felt 10 feet tall. Rosa was waiting for me in the break room. "Well, I got it." She let out a whoop that probably could be heard 3 floors up. "I knew it." "I knew you would. Thanks, Rosa, for everything." "So, big boss man, does this mean you're too important to talk to us little people now?" I laughed. "I'm still going to be the same old Nick." "Good." Her smile turned sly. "Because Estrella called me. She's going to call you tonight about watching Trey. Your sister has been a godsend. She likes you, Nick. She barely knows me." "She knows enough." Rosa patted my shoulder. "Just be open to possibilities, that's all I'm saying." I didn't know what to say to that, so I didn't say anything at all, but I thought about it all day long. The phone rang at 7 that evening. "Nick, this is Estrella, Rosa's sister." "Hey, Estrella, Rosa said you might call." "Yes, I'm calling about the babysitter job." She paused. "I would love to watch your son if you still need help." "I definitely need help, but are you sure? It's a lot to ask." "It's not asking if I'm offering." I could hear the smile in her voice. "My schedule at the firm is 7 to 2. I would have plenty of time to pick up Trey from the bus or the after-school program. I can help with homework, cook dinner, whatever you need." "What about weekends?" "I'm free most weekends. We can work out the details." I thought about it. This woman had already done so much for me. Now she was offering to become part of our daily lives. "Why?" I asked. "Why would you do this for someone you barely know?" She was quiet for a moment. "Because I know what it's like to be alone, to need help and have no one to turn to. When Rosa told me about your situation, I wanted to help, that's all." There was something in her voice, something sad and knowing. "How about dinner?" I said. "Tomorrow night you can meet Trey, see if you two get along. We can talk about the details then." "That sounds perfect. What time?" 6 o'clock. I'll text you the address." "Okay, Nick, I'll see you tomorrow." After I hung up, I sat in the quiet house and thought about what I was doing. Inviting a woman I barely knew into our lives, into our home, but Rosa trusted her, and Rosa's judgment had never steered me wrong. Maybe it was time to take a chance. Best behavior tonight, I told Trey on the drive home from school. We're having a guest for dinner. Who? Her name is Estrella. She might be helping take care of you when I'm at work. Like a babysitter. Sort of, but don't call her that. You're not a baby. He grinned. I know, I'm almost 8. Exactly, so be polite, say please and thank you, and for the love of God, don't wipe your hands on your pants. I won't, Dad, I promise. I stopped at Grandma Hoyt's buffet on the way home. Picked up fried chicken, mashed potatoes, green beans, and biscuits. Couldn't go wrong with fried chicken. The house was reasonably clean. I'd spent the previous night tidying up just in case. Made sure Trey's room wasn't a complete disaster zone. At exactly 6 o'clock, the doorbell rang. I'll get it. Trey ran for the door before I could stop him. I followed close behind. Watched as he pulled the door open. And there she was. Estrella Ramirez, standing on my front porch with a warm smile and a pan of something that smelled incredible. I'd seen her before, of course, talked to her on the phone plenty of times, but this was different. This was her in my space, my home. She was shorter than I expected. About 5'3", maybe 4 inches shorter than her sister Rosa. Rounded figure, the kind that suggested good cooking and comfortable hugs. Her hair was cropped short, unusual for a Mexican woman, and her cheeks were full and cheerful. But it was her smile that got me, bright, genuine, the kind of smile that made you feel like she was truly happy to see you. Hola, Estrella, I said, attempting my terrible Spanish. Bienvenido a mi humilde morada. She laughed, a real laugh, not a polite one. A little better, Nick, we'll work on that. I brought tamales, she said, holding up the pan. My grandmother's recipe, I hope you like spicy. I love spicy, come in, come in. Trey was staring at her with wide eyes. She knelt down to his level. You must be Trey, I've heard so much about you. Hello, ma'am, he said, remembering his manners. It's nice to meet you. Such a gentleman, she looked up at me approvingly. You've done well, Papa. I felt my face flush. When was the last time someone had complimented my parenting? Dinner was easy, that's the only word for it. Estrella fit into our space like she'd always been there. She helped me set the table, made Trey laugh with stories about her sister's terrible cooking. Asked questions about his school, his friends, his hobbies. When she found out he liked to draw, her eyes lit up. Me too. I used to draw all the time as a little girl. Can I see some of your work? Trey ran to his room and came back with his sketch pad. They spent 20 minutes going through his drawings, Estrella praising each one like it belonged in a museum. You have real talent, she said. Have you ever tried watercolors? No, just pencils and crayons. Maybe I can bring some next time, we can paint together. I watched them interact, something warm spreading through my chest. This was what Trey needed. Someone who paid attention, someone who saw him, someone who wasn't too busy chasing status and money to notice a little boy who just wanted to be loved. After dinner, Trey went upstairs to get ready for bed. Estrella and I sat at the kitchen table talking about the arrangement. I can pick him up from the bus most days, she said. 3 o'clock, help him with homework, cook dinner for both of you. You don't have to cook. I want to, I love cooking, it makes me happy. What about the days he stays at the after-school program? He's made friends there, I don't want to pull him out completely. Then we keep those days, 2, maybe 3 days a week at the program, the rest with me. And weekends? Whenever you need me, I don't have much of a social life, she smiled ruefully. Just work and church and visiting Rosa. I hesitated. Estrella, I have to ask, why are you doing this? And don't just say because you want to help, there has to be more. She was quiet for a long moment. When she spoke, her voice was softer. I came to America 8 years ago, 2 years after Rosa. I was running from someone, a man back home, a man who, she trailed off. He was not kind to me, he used his fists more than his words. I'm sorry. Don't be, I escaped. I built a new life here. But I know what it's like to be alone, to feel like the world is against you. She met my eyes. When Rosa told me about you, about what your wife did, something in me wanted to help, maybe because I see myself in your son, a child caught in the middle of adult problems. I didn't know what to say, so I said the only thing that came to mind. Thank you. You're welcome, she smiled. Now about payment, how much can you afford? We worked out the details. It was less than I expected. She refused to take more. I'm not doing this for money, she said. I'm doing it because it's right. The arrangement started the following Monday, and everything changed. Suddenly, our house had life again, the smell of home-cooked food when I walked through the door. Laughter echoing from Trey's room, Spanish phrases scattered throughout conversations. Hola, padre, Trey greeted me one evening, grinning. Como estuvo tu dia? Getting better every day, mijo. I ruffled his hair. Where'd you learn that? Estrella's teaching me. She says I'm a natural. Estrella came out of the kitchen, wiping her hands on a towel. He is very quick learner. What's for dinner? Enchiladas. And before you ask, yes, there's extra cheese. I know how you gringos like your cheese. I laughed. When was the last time I'd laughed in this house? What started as 2 or 3 days a week quickly became 4, then 5. Estrella became a fixture in our lives, picking Trey up from school, helping with homework, cooking meals that made my attempts look pathetic. She even started eating dinner with us. It just made sense. She'd cook the food. Why shouldn't she enjoy it? Watching her with Trey, I noticed something shifting inside me. The way she listened to him, really listened. The way she encouraged his art, his Spanish, his curiosity. The way she made him feel seen. And somewhere along the way, I started noticing her too. The way she hummed while she cooked. The way her eyes crinkled when she laughed. The warmth that seemed to radiate from her very being. The more I was around her, the prettier she got. Jane found out about Estrella, of course. She came to pick up Trey one Saturday, and there was Estrella in the kitchen making pancakes. Who is that? Jane demanded when I answered the door. That's Estrella. She helps take care of Trey. You hired a babysitter. I hired a caregiver. There's a difference. I want to know who's spending time with my son. She's Rosa's sister. You remember Rosa from my work. Estrella works at your firm, actually, in housekeeping. You probably never noticed her. Jane's face went red. The Mexican lady who works mornings. Her name is Estrella. And yeah, I know she's beneath your notice, being a cleaning lady and all, but she's been more help to this family in the past month than you've been in the past year. That's not fair. Fair? You want to talk about fair? You left your son behind when you walked out. You don't get to have opinions about who takes care of him now. She opened her mouth, closed it, opened it again. I want to meet her. No, Nick. I said no, you don't get to vet the people in my life anymore. You gave up that right when you chose Jerry over your family. I stepped back. Trey, your mom's here. Jane stood there, fuming as Trey came running down the stairs. Bye, Estrella, he called over his shoulder. Bye, me Ammer, have fun with your mama. Jane's face twisted at the Spanish endearment, but she didn't say anything, just took Trey's hand and walked to her car. I watched them drive away, then went back inside. Estrella was standing at the kitchen counter, concern on her face. Is everything okay? Everything's fine, I said. She's just not used to sharing. She's his mother. She has a right to know who's in his life. She gave up a lot of rights when she left. Estrella was quiet for a moment. Be careful, Nick. Angry people do stupid things. I didn't know how prophetic those words would turn out to be. The call from my attorney came on a Tuesday. Nick, we have a problem. Jane is requesting mandatory marriage counseling before the divorce can proceed. Counseling? We're way past counseling. I know. But she's arguing that she only wanted a separation, not a divorce. Under North Carolina law, she can request it. If you refuse, it could delay proceedings and make you look uncooperative. I rubbed my temples. How long? 5 sessions minimum, once a week. If there's no progress, you can proceed with the divorce. And if I say no, she could fight the divorce for months, maybe longer. Is that what you want? It wasn't. I wanted this over. I wanted to move on. Fine, but I have conditions. We split the cost, and I get to approve the therapist. I'll communicate that to her attorney. We settled on Dr. Lewis Good. I'd found him on Google, 4.5 stars, specialized in marriage counseling and divorce mediation. His office was in a professional building downtown. Comfortable furniture, soft lighting. The kind of place designed to make you feel at ease while you dissected the corpse of your marriage. The first session was individual. Jane and I met with him separately, giving our versions of events. I told him everything. The party, the lies, Jerry, the arrest, her walking out. And what do you want from these sessions, Nick? I want them to be over so I can get divorced. He smiled slightly. Fair enough, let's see what we can accomplish. The joint sessions were worse. Session 2, Session 3, the same arguments over and over. I'm not looking for sex, Nick. Jane's voice was pleading. I want an exciting life. Is that so wrong? What's wrong is how you went about it. The lies, the secrecy, the disrespect. I never meant to disrespect you. Really? So telling me my job was beneath you wasn't disrespectful, saying I had no ambition, comparing me unfavorably to Jerry Mahoney every chance you got. I was frustrated. You never wanted to do anything, never wanted to go anywhere. We take the same vacation every year. You wear the same suit to every event. We drive cars that are practically antiques. We drive those cars because they're paid off. We take modest vacations because we're saving for retirement, for Trey's college, for our future. What future? The one where we die in that same house, driving those same cars, having done nothing with our lives, Dr. Good interjected. Jane, can you explain what you mean by done nothing? I mean, experienced things, traveled, lived. Do you know that Nick has never been out of the country, never even been on a plane? Neither had you until Jerry started filling your head with Vienna and Tahiti. See, she turned to Dr. Good. This is what I'm dealing with. He can't hear any criticism without getting defensive. I'm not defensive, I'm realistic. Someone has to be. Back and forth, round and round, no progress. No understanding, just two people who used to love each other, speaking different languages. Session 4 was when everything fell apart. Dr. Good started with a question that caught me off guard. Nick, what are you afraid of? What's your biggest fear about spending money? I thought about it, really thought. I'm not afraid, I said slowly. I'm cautious. I watched my mother struggle after my father died. She had nothing, no savings, no security. She nearly lost the house. I swore I would never put my family through that. So financial security is important to you. It's everything. What's the point of fancy vacations if you can't afford to retire? What's the point of a nice car if you're one layoff away from losing everything? But Jane sees it differently. Jane sees what Jerry showed her, a fantasy, a lifestyle she thinks she deserves but hasn't earned. I looked at her. For you, it's about the money and the status. For me, it's about your disrespect, your cheating. I never cheated. You did, maybe not physically, but emotionally, absolutely. I started counting on my fingers. You changed. Became less affectionate, less present, started going out every Friday with the girls. Then it was Jerry this, Jerry that, the great and powerful Jerry Mahoney. Nick, I'm not done. My voice was rising, I didn't care. I tried, I sent you flowers, took you to dinner, made reservations, tried to reconnect. And what did I get? More lies. You told me spouses weren't invited to the party. They were. You bought a new dress, got your hair done, all to impress Jerry. When I got arrested for defending my own property, you went to the hospital with HIM. Not me, HIM. The room was silent. So don't sit there and tell me you never cheated. You may not have slept with him, but you chose him, over and over again. That's a betrayal no amount of counseling can fix. I stood up. I'm done. Finished. I don't want to be married to someone who sees me as a consolation prize, someone who's waiting for a better option to come along. Nick, please. No, Jane, it's over. File whatever you want. Fight me in court. I don't care anymore. I'll see you at the divorce hearing. I walked out, didn't look back. The campaign started almost immediately. Calls from Jane. I sent them to voicemail. Calls from Grace. Nick, please just hear her out. Calls from her parents. Think of Trey. Think of what this will do to him. Calls from mutual friends. People I hadn't heard from in months, suddenly concerned about my marriage. I ignored them all. Jane started showing up at the house unannounced, making scenes in front of Trey, crying, begging. I started having Estrella handle the pickups. Couldn't deal with it anymore. Then came the nuclear option. My attorney called on a Friday morning. Nick, Jane's filed new motions. You need to come in now. I was at her office within the hour. She's asking for full custody of Trey, child support, $2,000 a month in alimony, and she wants to stay in the house until Trey turns 18. She can't do that. The house is mine. Inherited property. She's arguing marital contribution, that her income helped maintain the property during the marriage. It's a stretch, but it could complicate things. What about custody? She's citing the incident with Jerry, claiming you're violent and unstable, unfit to be a primary caregiver. I felt the blood drain from my face. That's insane. I was defending my property. Castle doctrine, the police didn't even charge me. I know, but she's painting a picture, violent husband, unsafe environment. It's a classic tactic in custody battles. What do? We fight, document everything, your stability, Trey's well-being since she left, the fact that she abandoned him when she moved out. She paused. This is going to get ugly, Nick. Are you ready for that? I thought about Trey, about Estrella, about the life we'd been building. I'm ready. Jane's interlude when Nick walked out of that counseling session, something inside her broke. She'd lost him. Really, truly lost him. All the things she'd done, all the choices she'd made had led to this moment. And there was no taking them back, but she couldn't accept it, couldn't let go. So she threw everything she had at him. called everyone who might influence him, filed motions, made demands, played every card in her hand. None of it worked. Jerry was still there, of course, patient, understanding, offering her an escape. "Come away with me," he said one evening. "Just for a weekend. Blue Mountain Mist Country Inn. It's the highest-rated bed and breakfast in Tennessee. We can forget about all of this, just be together." She was tempted. God, was she tempted, but she couldn't, not yet, not while there was still a chance. "I threw everything at Nick to stop the divorce," she admitted to herself late at night, alone in Grace's guest room. "And none of it was enough." There was only one card left to play, one final, desperate move. She didn't know it would destroy everything. The call came on a Wednesday afternoon. "Nick, it's Margie from next door." "Hey, Margie, what's up? You need to come home right now, something's happened." My blood went cold. "Is Trey okay?" "He's fine, he's with me, but Nick, ICE raided your house." "ICE? What are you talking about?" "Immigration. They showed up about an hour ago. Busted down your front door, tore the place apart." Her voice was shaking. "They took Estrella." I broke every speed limit getting home. The front door was hanging off its hinges. Inside, the house looked like a tornado had hit it. Furniture overturned, drawers pulled out, papers scattered everywhere. Margie met me on the porch, Trey clinging to her leg. "Daddy." He ran to me, tears streaming down his face. "They took Estrella, they put handcuffs on her and pushed her in a van." I held him tight, my mind racing. "Did they say anything, show any paperwork?" "They said she was here illegally," Margie said. "That someone reported her." Someone reported her, I knew, instantly, without a doubt. Jane, I called Rosa first. "Stay away," I told her. "Just in case they come for you too." "I'm legal, Nick, I have papers." "So does Estrella, that didn't stop them." Silence on the line, then, "I'll find out where they took her." Next, I called my divorce attorney. "I need an immigration lawyer, the best one you know, money is no object." "What happened?" Jane reported Estrella to ICE. "They raided my house, took her right in front of my son." Jesus Christ. "Can we use this in the divorce?" "Absolutely, this is retaliation, harassment, if we can prove she made the report." She paused. "I'll make some calls, we'll get Estrella out." It took 2 weeks. 2 weeks of lawyers and paperwork and hearings. 2 weeks of Trey asking where Estrella was when she was coming back. 2 weeks of sleepless nights and rage-filled days. The immigration authorities threatened to deport her to El Salvador, not even her country, just somewhere to dump her. But Estrella had papers, a green card, legal status. The report was false and we proved it. On a Tuesday afternoon, she walked out of the detention center, thin, exhausted, but alive. She saw me waiting and burst into tears. "Nick, you came." "Of course I came." I wrapped my arms around her, holding her while she sobbed. "I'm so sorry, Estrella, this is my fault, my wife." "I know," she pulled back, wiping her eyes. "They told me, someone reported me, said I was illegal. She's going to pay for this, I promise you. It doesn't matter." She managed a weak smile. "I'm out, that's what matters." I went to Jane's office the next day. "I need to see Jane Fowler, now." The receptionist, Jackie, looked uncomfortable. "Mr. Fowler, I don't care what you think, get her now." Jane appeared a few minutes later. She looked terrified. "Good. Nick, I can explain." "Explain." The word exploded out of me. "You called ICE on an innocent woman. They raided my house. They traumatized my son." He watched them drag Estrella away in handcuffs. "I didn't think. You never think, that's your whole problem. You just act and everyone else pays the price." I was shaking with rage. "She's legal, Jane. She has papers, a green card. You could have gotten her deported for no reason." People were staring. I didn't care. "You are the most selfish, vindictive, heartless person I have ever known. And to think I spent 13 years of my life loving you." "Nick, please lower your voice." "I will not lower my voice. I want everyone in this building to know what you did, what kind of person you are." Security appeared, 2 large men in uniforms. "Sir, you need to leave." "I'm going, but first," I pointed at Jane. "I'm filing a no-contact order. You come near me, near Trey, near Estrella, and I'll have you arrested. Understood?" She was crying now, mascara running down her cheeks. "Nick, I'm sorry. I was desperate. I just wanted. I don't care what you wanted. You're dead to me." I let security escort me out, didn't look back. The divorce hearing was 3 weeks later. Jane showed up looking like a ghost, thin, haggard. Dark circles under her eyes. I almost felt sorry for her, almost. The judge reviewed the case, the separation, the abandonment, the false ICE report. "Mrs. Fowler, do you have anything to say for yourself?" She stood slowly. "Your Honor, I never meant for things to go this far. I love my son, I love my husband. I made mistakes, but..." "Mistakes?" The judge peered at her over his glasses. Filing a false immigration report is not a mistake. It's a crime. You're fortunate the federal prosecutor chose not to press charges. She had no response. In the matter of property division, the judge continued, the house at 47 Apple Creek Drive is inherited property not subject to marital distribution. It remains with Mr. Fowler. I exhaled. In the matter of custody, given the evidence of Mrs. Fowler's abandonment of the minor child and her subsequent acts of harassment and retaliation, I am awarding primary custody to Mr. Fowler with visitation rights to Mrs. Fowler, to be supervised until such time as this court determines otherwise. Jane's face crumpled. In the matter of spousal support, given the similar incomes of both parties and the circumstances of the marriage's dissolution, I am ordering Mrs. Fowler to pay Mr. Fowler $300 per month in alimony for a period of 2 years. Wait, she was paying me. Given the aforementioned behavior and the costs incurred by Mr. Fowler in defending against false accusations, I find it appropriate. The judge set down his papers. This court grants the divorce effective immediately. We're adjourned. The gavel came down. I was free. 3 months later. Life was good, not perfect. Life never is, but good. The job was going gangbusters. Turned out I was actually good at management. Who knew? I worked 1 weekend a month, 1 late night a week. The rest of the time I was home with Trey. Speaking of Trey, he was in therapy, had been since the ICE raid. The trauma of watching Estrella get dragged away had left its mark, but his counselor said he was making progress. Kids are resilient. They bounce back. He was also becoming bilingual. Hola, padre, he greeted me every evening. Como estuvo tu dia? Muy bien, mijo, why tu? Bueno, Estrella and I made flan today. Estrella. She'd recovered from her ordeal, though I knew it still haunted her. Some nights I'd catch her staring out the window, lost in memories I couldn't share, but she stayed, with us, part of our family now. We'd been out together a few times, dinner, a movie once. I didn't call them dates, just 2 friends hanging out. The divorce was too fresh for anything more, but the potential was there, simmering beneath the surface, waiting for the right moment. Someone asked me once if I regretted ending my marriage, if I felt like I'd jumped the gun, given that Jane never actually slept with Jerry. I explained it like this. If you put 1 brick on a board, it won't break it. But if you pile brick after brick, eventually the board will break. That's what Jane did. She piled up the bricks until the board broke. The lies, the disrespect, the choosing Jerry over me over and over, the abandonment, the ICE report, brick after brick after brick. Eventually, even the strongest board will snap. We went to Disneyland that summer. Me, Trey, and Estrella, Trey's first time. He was beside himself with excitement, running from ride to ride, meeting characters, eating things that would give any dentist nightmares. On our last night, we watched the fireworks together, Trey in the middle, Estrella and I on either side. Thank you, she said quietly, her hand finding mine. For everything. Thank you, I replied, for being there, for not giving up on us. I would never give up on you, Nick, either of you. Trey looked up at us, a smile on his face. This is the best day ever, I squeezed his shoulder. It really is, buddy. And it was, Jane's ending. I'm divorced, and I never cheated. That's the part that haunts me most. Everyone thinks I had an affair with Jerry. I didn't. To this day, I have never let another man kiss me, but I destroyed my marriage anyway. I'm living in a 1-bedroom apartment now, cramped, depressing, nothing like the house I shared with Nick. The house I thought would be mine. My relationship with Grace is strained. She took Nick's side eventually. Said I was stupid for not being happy with what I had. Maybe she was right. Work is difficult. I'm on probation. My colleagues avoid me. The only people who talk to me are Deanne and Whitney, and even they keep their distance. The ICE thing destroyed whatever reputation I had left. People know what I did. They whisper when I walk by, leave rooms when I enter. Financial reality has hit hard. My BMW payment, rent, insurance, barely enough left for groceries. I might need to get a part-time job. The $300 a month I pay Nick in alimony barely registers, but it's a constant reminder of how far I've fallen. Jerry's still around, patient as ever, waiting for me to say yes. Whenever you're ready, he tells me, I'll be here. Part of me wants to take him up on it, run away to Vienna or Tahiti or wherever he promises, escape this mess I've made. But I know the truth now. Jerry wasn't offering me a better life. He was offering me a fantasy, a lie wrapped in expensive clothes and fancy restaurants. Nick was real, our life was real, and I threw it away for nothing. Further from the high life than ever before, I whispered to myself in the darkness of my empty apartment. This is what I chose, now I have to live with it.